What's good, family? The Genesis plan, reverse engineering God's plan. I go by the name Pushy Push. Down below is my TikTok at pushy.push. Definitely head over there and check out some of those videos. Also, drop a like and subscribe right here to my YouTube at Pushy Push. But let's jump into this one, family. So, I want you to look at this cover right here. Um, this is very interesting because the elite will let you know that they understand what our past is more than what I believe we can understand fully. You know, it says the inky fantasy, the inky fantasy. Then it says introduction to our Genesis plan. And down below, it says inky protocol. When you look at this right here, even with the blood drop, believe it or not, this is a cryptocurrency right here. This is a crypto protocol right here. If you're into those things, check out XRP. But this right here lets you know that the occult, in their subtle way, show homage to, the things that would seem like they are mythology, So Inky, he's known for altering creation. Genesis is known for the beginning of creation. And then you have this blood right here, this blood drop that is inside of the creation. So this protocol right here that is masked behind crypto is literally showing, you know, um, my belief of another species being here inside of the world outside of ourselves right here. So what we're going to do is look at the Genesis plan. What is the Genesis plan? In order to understand what the Genesis plan is, you have to go into Genesis and look at the two separate God conversations. This is the beginning of the Genesis plan. So the one on the right, it says, so God created man in his own image. That being singular, own right there. And the one on the left says, then God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. And that right there is the Genesis plan. The Genesis plan was to create something that could rule over the Most High's original creation. So the original people in the world, something decided to create something to rule over that group, which is what I believe is us. I believe it's us. So the Genesis plan that we looked at earlier, the Genesis plan right here, even with the blood, it is to make another species. And the people or the beings that made this species made it so that it would rule over us. It wasn't the factor that they wanted this species to exist in the world because the Most High made a species. No, this is a war, against the Most High himself and his creation. So these entities right here created something inside of the earth, and that is the Genesis plan. And the creations that they made is the beast that we're going to look at in Revelations later on in the video right here. But I wanted to establish right here that the Genesis plan is verse 126. Let us make man in our own image, after our likeness. That was the Genesis plan, to create something to go against the Most High's original creation right there. So when we look at this, you can see that it looks like a blood drop. That's the connection, the relativity to the inky piece right here. So the inky fantasy, and you see it has that blood drop right there. That is the connection to that right here, because this is dealing with the same thing with DNA. If you notice, there is a man sitting on top of a beastly creature. So I consider that to be a wild man. For me, this is telling me that the DNA that exists in this creature below exists in this man above, which makes them one. That is what I see right there. And I'll show you why I say that. Another thing to take note is the snake at the top and the bird wings at the bottom. So keep that in mind also. If we look right here, we're going to look at these coins, and we'll start at the bottom, the very bottom. That is the one that is deeply connected to this blood drop. If you notice the silver coin at the bottom, it has the snake symbol on top and it has the wings on the bottom and it has a pole going through. If you look at the blood drop, it has the snake on the top and it has the wings on the bottom right there. And you see how they're aligned? That's the pole. See, this is the true image of what you're seeing right here to the right. This has always been about a bloodline, even though they'll tell you this is the caduceus right here. This is the literal bloodline symbol right here. And you have two different bloodlines. So the one up at the top, if you notice, the wing is at the top and the snake is at the bottom and there's a pole. Well, that is today our medical symbol, mind you. But if you look at that drop, that is what you're seeing. That wing is now on the top and the snake part is on the bottom right there. This is a species. This is two different species, um, from what I've learned, warring against each other. So a much older species, the snake on the top, the bird wing on the bottom, and then the more newer species, which is the bird wing on the top and a snake on the bottom. But no matter what, when you look at these coins right here, the pole in the middle is a representation of what we're seeing on the blood drop. That is two beings right there. This is a merging of a species with man's DNA. So the Genesis plan, they had to take the creation. They had to take man, male and female is man. They had to do that right there. And it seems like they applied the animals of the world to man, to the male and to the female. And they seem to have had success with making a species that's conscious, like it knows who it is and knows math. They made something conscious by blending the man's DNA with animal DNA. And this is what creates that bloodline right there. So in this situation, you know, it shows it as using reptilian or some type of older dinosaur blood. And then there is a particular bird that they use at a later point. But the medical symbol up at the top and the symbol at the bottom, that is a bloodline. And I'm going to show what makes that a bloodline even deeper. This right, this like this piece right here. Um, I've shown it before, and I always say none of this has anything to do with racism right here. That is our colonial battle that we go through, is when we see images like this. And I understand, you know, a person's outlook on this, but this is a little bit deeper. What you're looking at is a black person who has a snake body, and then you're looking at a white person who has the bird wings right there. If we go back, this are the things that you're looking at. So the black person, he has the snake wings. So the snake is on top, you know, and the bird wings is on the bottom. Well, today, that's what we're seeing now is the coin above, where the bird wings is on top and the snake is on the bottom. So right here, the bird wing is on the top, snake wings is on the bottom. But ultimately, the black and the white person are wild men. So this blood drop right here, that represents both of them. That is what's going on right here. This is a bloodline fighting each other, and they're fighting each other over who is going to be watchers over us. This is the Genesis plan. In the Genesis plan, you had black people who had this animal DNA inside of it, and they were the watchers over the world. And now you have white reptilians, and now they are the watchers over the world. This is the Genesis plan. They made a species to govern over man. And the original species they used was literally a black person. Now they use a white person. And at times they use both or any other race. This is what they do. And this is what the Genesis plan is right here. So when you see the medical symbol, it doesn't mean the caduceus. It doesn't mean your chakra. You're looking at it right here on this blood drop. The pole going down the middle, the real image is two bodies on top of each other. And one is a species and one is a man, and they're both blended together. That is the Genesis plan. We're going to jump right here. And you look at this all together, because sometimes you gotta, in order to digest this, you have to see it all together. So they're lined up underneath each other. If you look on the right, again, you see the blood drop. There's a man on top of each other, and there's the snake wings on, like the bird wings on the bottom and the snake on top. As you see the coin right there at the top, bird wings on the bottom, snake on top. So the image of two people on top of each other, they just replaced that with the pole. That's what's going on. And if you look to the left, you see the white angel over the what would be the reptilian black person. Well, if you look at the top, the bird wing is on top, the snake is on the bottom. This whole thing right here is a bloodline. And this bloodline was created to rule over man. This is the bloodline that is being talked about in Revelations. And this is part of the Genesis plan. This is the Genesis plan right here. It was to make a species to govern over man. That's what happened. Let's look into Revelations, because there's something interesting inside of that right there with the species that they made. So in Revelation 17, it says, the 10 horns you saw are 10 kings. The 10 horns you saw are 10 kings. If you look at this coin right here at the top, that is a man with horns, and he has a crown on his head. And above the crown, it looks what it looks like a pine cone, like above his head. But this is a horn. It says 10 horns. The 10 horns you saw are 10 kings. So the 10 horns is 10 men who have this animal feature about themselves. We're not looking at this like this. We're not comprehending that something like this once walked the earth. And this is part of the Genesis plan. They created something to rule over the Most High's creation. So the 10 horns you saw are 10 kings. That is what you're looking at, literally on this coin right here. It's showing you a horned man with a crown on his head, and he has what looks to be like a pine cone. And then you see to the other side on the coin, and this is showing you right here that the DNA that exists in this creature exists in that man. This is very similar to the blood drop. So let's go back to that blood drop, a little bit bigger. If you see it, there's a regular man on top, and then there's the beast on the bottom. Let's go back. There's the regular man on the left, and there's the beast on the right. So we're talking about a bloodline of people who look like animal and people who have basically almost evolved and they no longer look like animal. They just inherit the bloodline. But for the scriptures, the 10 horns you saw are 10 kings, where you're looking at one of the horns right here. It is a real being and he has a crown on his head. Look a little further. Here's an example of the 10 horns. The 10 horns right there. So the top coin right here to the left, you can probably see it a little bit bigger. He has horns on his head. He has a crown on his head. That's a king. If you look below, there's another man. He has a horn on his head, and there's that star. That star could be Moorish, it could be satanic, it could be the Star of David. See, I connect all this to a bloodline. This is all part of the Genesis plan. If you look to the far right, to the coin that has the gold right there, and it says right there, it says IOVIS. And on the coin, it says IOVI right there. So it has two of the same names right there. And it makes you wonder, is this a real history? Is that a real history right there? IOVIS. That's what has it on this man, Amon's. And this made me think of Zeus Amon. Also, it made me think of inside of the scriptures, there was a city or a place called Ammon right there. So there is some definite relative like to this right here. Something is very relative, but this is a horned one. We go back. It says the 10 horns you saw are 10 kings. These are horned ones right here, and they have them on coins. And it's quite possible that these things actually live, which kind of makes Revelations true. Like it's at like this part has already surpassed. This part of Revelations has already came about. The 10 horns is already ruled. They have them on coins right now. And as you see, the guy's name, IOVOS, I can't even say that. If it was a J, it'd be like Jovis. But literally, he's on a coin. And that lets me know that the 10 horns is already ruled. This is part of the Genesis plan to take a species that was created out of the original man and have it to rule over the Most High's creation. This goes a lot further. So in Daniel, this extends a lot further. It says, and the 10 horns are 10 kings who will rise from this kingdom. Then it says, after them, another king, different from the earlier ones, will rise and subdue 3 kings. It says, let me read that again. After them, so after the wild man with horns, after these guys, after their rule, after the 10, it says, after them, another king different from the earlier ones will rise. So there is another wild man out there. And I'm going to show you who that one is, the one that is different than the earlier ones. If you notice, it says, will rise and subdue 3 kings. It did not say will rise and subdue the horned ones. You have to understand that this right here is the same entity as the horned ones. It's only a little different. Now we need to know what makes it different than the horned ones, but they're all together. These are the Genesis creations that was placed to rule over us. To understand this Genesis plan right here, this is a great illustration right here. So at the bottom, you see a moon, and at the top, you see a sun. So the moon represents a female, and the sun represents a male. And you can see the scars on the side, so you know that this is talking about people. This is a family tree. We need to see, what does this family tree connect to, because this is what's going to explain, um, after them, another king different from the earlier ones. This is going to show this bloodline right here. I know this picture is wild. Both of them are wild, but they do explain the one that is different than the rest. You're looking at it. This is the one that is different than the rest. It is a male and female, and it doesn't have the horns on its head. It is a more completed person. So it looks more like the Most High's creation. They had success with blending their creation to such extent that it looks no longer like the horn gods or the horn kings. It now looks like a man and a woman. If you look at the little suns right there, so let's start on the right side. There's a tree of suns on the left side, and then there's moon, like a moon tree on the right. So as you see, the sun is connected to the guy, and on the right where the moon tree is connected to the female. Let's go back. That is what you're looking at right here. The bottom, the moon is the female. At the top, that's the male. And what you're looking at is the different bloodlines that was created. Now you have one that was born perfect. It has all the animal DNA, and it looks perfect because it looks like the Most High's creation. And that is what this represents right here. This is considered to be a perfect being right here. And I know you see this as a white illustration, but they come black. Let's look at that real quick. If you notice, they got bat wings on the back of them, right? Let's go back. Let's go back right there. You see that? The black dude at the bottom has the bat wings. Now, when did the white person begin to get bird wings opposed to the bat wings, like on that last picture? See, what they did was create a heaven and hell scenario. So now this gives you the appearance of an angel when it has nothing to do with heaven or hell. We're talking about a species that fight each other over power over us. And when we're told about this right here, this war between these two species, it's in the form of heaven and hell, angels and demons. But the truth is, this is a bloodline. And the snake wings on the back of him, at the black guy at the bottom, they're on the white people right here. So this is a bloodline that extends from black people to white people. And the angel wings on the back is only to create the illustration of a hell, heaven or hell situation. That's what that is meant to create right there. But to go back right here, it said, and the 10 horns or the 10 kings you saw will rise. Okay. That's the 10 horns right there. They're for real. They were created beings. They walked the earth. They ruled as kings. They made coins after them. And then it says, after them, another king different from the earlier ones. This right here is the king right here. That's different. It doesn't have the horns. And they subdued three kings that was placed in the world, who were probably even followers of the Most High right there. So we're talking about you having a species that start off looking animal-like, and then it made it enough using DNA and ritualistic sex to such extent that it now looks like a regular man. It looks like a regular woman. It doesn't have the beastly appearance anymore. So when we go back right here, that's how you can understand the beast on the bottom and the regular person on the top on this blood drop. But truthfully, It all it is that the DNA has been perfected. The poles that you see are bodies. They are the bodies of individuals to form this DNA symbol right here. Let's jump back over here. So what Daniel was showing is this right here. There's another species, and it's right now even in the church, and it's in government, and it walks around the world looking like everyone else. And the only way you can tell what it is how it talks. So when it talks about depopulation, that's how you know this beast right here, because it no longer looks like the horned ones right here. These once walked the earth, and you see that star right there? That star belongs to the Genesis plan. The Moors hold that right there. And I'm showing you black vampires right there, black reptilians as white reptilians. So anybody holding that star right there, anybody holding that star is part of the Genesis plan. Right here. It speaks volumes. So you see the beast to the left. He has crowns all above his head, and then there's animals all around him. There's animals all around him, and there's crowns above his head right there. Those crowns belong to those skulls right here to the right, because those people on those skulls right there have that DNA. Those animals are in those people, and those crowns belong to those people. And that is the Genesis plan. Genesis, the let us make man out of our image, after our likeness. They were creating a creature to go against mankind, the most highest creation, male and female. We are at war right now with a species that looks exactly like a man and a female. It looks normal. They no longer have the beastly horn look anymore. So that is what this is showing you right here, that the people who have this animal DNA, they have ruled, that's their crown right there, over the regular man. And this is their DNA tree right here. That is the Genesis plan right there. That is the Inky plan right there. Our world, in my opinion, I believe that we are held hostage. When they say New World Order, I no longer think like the seven continents that we know of. The New World Order for me is beyond the ice wall and something controlling the whole world order. So something came here and created something to govern over us. And that thing that governed over us will not allow us to go past the ice wall. Got to think about that one right there. So, to the next time, family, I definitely appreciate you watching this far right here. I try to keep the videos definitely interesting. They are my POV, my point of view, but I do take it seriously, and I do wholeheartedly believe that the Genesis plan was meant to create something to rule over the Most High's people. So with that, to the next time, family. Thank you.